It's Michelle. How are you? Um, I really appreciate your very astute uh, pieces that you wrote for your golden lines, and there were a couple things in here I kind of took to be a little bit questiony. Is that a word? Sorry, but I wanted to just interject a few things that I know you love to think about because you're such a learner. I love that. Anyway, I got lucky this semester. I have a lot of learners in my classroom, which I always love because I'm a learner too. Such an interesting chapter about history. And I love what you're saying about the mothers and the film babies and all that. Of course, that's all really good. I wanted to let you know that I don't know in depth a lot of that history. But I think you're right. There's a lot of judgment there. And at that time in history, there was a lot of belief on the part of white, in particular Christian organizations, including the Quakers here in the United States, that children needed to be civilized. And there was a lot of judgment. So what you're saying in your golden line for letter A is probably true. I also know that at that time, children were badly abused and made to work. And so there could have been some good intentions there and good activity also. That could have been what the intervention was about as well. Anyway, that was a really good observation on your part, and I just wanted to add to that. And then I wanted to go to, let's see. I don't know if all that was true. It was pretty funny though. When you think about the tabloids in our modern culture, it reminded me of that. When I learned about that at the beginning, people used to be very open about their disagreements with each other in those settings. And okay, I think that everything here yeah, I wanted to say something to you here about this love-hate relationship that I thought you would appreciate. I know when I experience those feelings you're talking about, I think about the amazing Howard Zinn, who said that we should always be in a love affair with our government, or whoever we're having this love-hate relationship with, in that we are devoted to and committed to it, and also have the obligation and responsibility to critique it and improve it when it needs to be, and to hold it accountable for what it says it is. So I think that being in this, I always like to say it's like a marriage, that you're committed, you're in it, and there are times when you really have to work on yourself and help the other person as well. And then you mentioned in these articles here about, not hearing these stories and that kind of thing. And yeah, I mean, that's why I tell them, because they're not, we do not do a very good job at all. We do almost no education in this realm. And there are lots of reasons for that. And I would say that what I wanted to, in here where you talk about, some argue population and some argue barriers. And what I wanted to say was that the non-education about this history and the limited points of view about it are very intentional. They are not by accident. They're not things that just kind of happened and then we have to think about it. These are things that are set up intentionally because devaluing Black people and other cultures, indigenous cultures, devaluing them is is deep in the DNA, the genetics of our history, of our country's history. It's very deep, very deep. And to pull it up by its roots and get it out is going to take acknowledgement of that and looking for it in every corner. So I just wanted to say that you're right to look at that, and I'm glad you're looking at it. And I remember you said in another paper somewhere that as a white person, I think it was your interview summary, as a white woman who did not harbor feelings of prejudice, you had not really thought about how widespread and prevalent the problem was. And so I was putting that together with what you were saying here and wanted to say that, now you're starting to see the intentional relationship of this in our country and how it was by design. It was the devaluing of Black people and, the whole issue of intelligence tests that were designed to prove that Black people could be enslaved because they weren't as intelligent and all that sort of thing. The science of that even is deeply part of our culture still. And when you say here that, the thing about barriers of Black teachers and that sort of thing, you have here, she wanted to bring more teachers of color. Curious to me, that was seen as more of a white profession. That's because everything is seen as more of a white profession. It's not just early childhood. And I'm sure you probably get that. But what I wanted to say was that the history of Black women in early childhood goes all the way back to during the time when people were enslaved. Black women were made to breastfeed white children. They were the caretakers of white children. They were not seen and fast forward to now, you still have this stigma of Black women being caregivers, but not professionals. And this has a lot to do with the maintaining this image of Black people as not as smart and not as able, but only able to do service work. So I wanted to point that out to you, and you can go into that more deeply. I also feel it's important to see a loving, nurturing teacher who's the opposite skin color. That's important, but it's actually problematic right now, because if your teachers are only white, even if they're great, like our fellow student in our class who asked that great question in guidance class, Black children are not benefiting from that. Not really. It's fine that it's there. It's better than what could be worse, right? I agree with you, but what we all need to be thinking about is how to surround Black children with Black people who are doing the work that everybody is doing. Like these three women, they were doing this work, but they are not. Their pictures are not in history books. They're not in early childhood history books, which is why I put them here. There are many more that I didn't put here, and I just wanted to say that because I was seeing the overlap between guidance and this class. So I'm glad you're investigating that more. And if you want to research it more, there's plenty out there about why even the best white teacher is still not the answer for Black children. It's a better answer, but it's still not a good one. But there are things we can do about that. So I'll just say that. And interesting that you looked into men. Yes, there are no men in early childhood, and that is because, of stereotypes and perpetuated ideas about men being with children. And Hans had to get out of the classroom because of it, because he just got weary of being accused of, doing things with children that were inappropriate, so he just got out. It's a very, very insidious, terrible problem. So I'm glad you researched it, and I love that you looked into it. Thank you for doing that. And I think that's all I wanted to say to you. I just love your deep thoughts about everything, and they deserve a response. Because this is an online class, this is pretty much what I can do. All right.